Shaun O'Hara, NFL analyst. You can catch him tonight, NFL Playbook at 6 p.m. And, of course, Thursday Night Football continues this week. Eagles and the Panthers on CBS, NFL Network, Amazon Prime Video. You can also catch all the action right here on 97.3. Shaun's kind enough to join us for a couple of minutes. How you been, pal?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you guys? Ready to fly?
Yeah, we're doing well. I tell you what, though, let me ask you, are you still in playing shape for that offensive line for the Giants?
Define shape. Round is a shape.
Well, let me ask you something. Would you be an upgrade to Flowers?
Oh man, I'm going to plead the fifth on that one.
Well, let me ask you this. Listen, it's got to be killing you. Listen, you won a Super Bowl with that team. That offensive line was the strength, and it's a mess. Listen, we can spend all day on this team, but the bottom line is they never addressed the offensive line. They refuse to admit that Flowers is a bust, and I don't want to hear it anymore. The kid is, whether he's young or not, it's all about technique and fundamental football. And then you lose your wide receivers, your quarterback's under duress. The head coach looks like he's overmatched, and there you have it. They're 0-5.
Yeah, I mean, I've always, felt like if you don't use good studs to build a house, that roof's going to come down eventually, and it certainly has. You mentioned Eric Flowers, and look, it's the same song and dance. I mean, here we are 3 years later. His rookie year, everybody was talking about his techniques and his fundamentals. They need to get better. They switch online coaches, and it's the same product. So I'm frustrated every week when I turn on the film. I get frustrated, but it's not just him. John Jerry, they moved him over to left guard to try to fill the void when Justin Pugh went to right tackle. John Jerry hasn't played great. I think Bobby Hart has struggled too, and there's times in games where Eric Flowers holds up and it's somebody else that gets beat, and then somebody else takes a turn, and then you have Brandon Marshall that was dropping footballs. And,
that's true.
The offense just been out of sync. I definitely agree. You've got to have a left tackle that plays consistently, and I haven't seen the growth out of Flowers that you think you would see in year 3. And it's not just the pass protection. I mean, the run game is just as essential, and there's reasons for their struggles, and a lot of it is poor combination blocks across the board. I thought Brett Jones did a good job filling in at center for Weston Richburg. I thought he provided a lot of nice power. A lot of those runs were up the A-gap. That was some, good job by having Pugh back in at left guard and working well with Brett. But, you mentioned the bust word. And the crazy thing to me, and I still try to wrap my head around this, is Eric Flowers was drafted higher than Odell Beckham.
Yes.
He was the 9th overall pick. 9th overall picks, you're supposed to be talking about how many Pro Bowls.
Pro Bowls, all pro. Yep.
You're supposed to be talking about, hey, man, this is our cornerstone left tackle. We're going to have to pay him a lot of money when his contract rookie deal is up. How are we going to afford to keep him? And that's not, believe me, we're nowhere near that. So, that's kind of where this team is at. I think this offense is a product too of, look, they don't put a lot of emphasis on the run game, and it's clear that shows up. It's a pass first offense, and I'm not sure it's real friendly right now to a lot of the players.
Let me ask you last one on the Giants, and we'll move on to the Eagles and a couple other things while I have you on. They were able to run the ball, and then they stopped running the ball against the Chargers. When do you start to look at the head coach, and it's not the Giant way to fire a head coach during it's just rarity, but when do you start to say if it gets out of hand, if it's a 2-14, 3-13 season, when do you make that decision, especially the GM too?
Well, I don't think the Giants are ever looking to fire somebody, and certainly not during the season. So I don't even think that's really on the table. But this system it has been flawed for years. When Ben McAdoo was the offensive coordinator and Tom Coughlin was the head coach, they lost games in the fourth quarter because they didn't have a good 4-minute offense.
Yep,
it's the same concept, and we're seeing the same things now 3 years later. And so there's got to be improvement there. They went out this offseason and tried to bring in some help. They brought in a fullback. They brought in Rhett Ellison, at tight end, and you thought that you were going to see different personnel and see more of that type of run game, but we really haven't. And I think that's what's frustrating. I think it's tough to see. Now you lose 4 receivers in one game. Guess what? You better have a different personnel package next week. And I think we should see that.
Yep.
It should be more friendly. I think Orleans Darkwa did a really good job. I mean, he's a really good A and B gap runner. He gets north to south. He's very physical, gets a lot of dirty yards. He's always falling forward. He got nicked up in the game, so you hope he can play. But I like him, and I really like Gallman. I think Gallman's got a nice little burst. You look around the league, there's a lot of young running backs that are putting up some good numbers. So they can't be shy with giving them the football, and now they have no choice.
What are you seeing in the Eagles that impressed you the most? I look at the quarterback is not making mistakes, better decision-making. And by the way, Doug Peterson turns around and they start to run the football a little more over the last several weeks. They've committed more to the run. Yeah,
they have, and LeGarrette Blount's really helped with that. You love a running back that can either run over or stiff arm an unblocked defender. That always helps, and it always makes offensive linemen look good. I think the thing that's been most impressive is Carson Wentz. Obviously, everybody looks at him and says, wow, he's playing a lot better. He's taking care of the football. But he's not just taking care of the ball. I mean, he's making delivering some strikes week in and week out. And the throws that he's making, I mean, it's so precise. He looks so calm and so poised in the pocket. A lot of credit has to go to the offensive line. The tackles have done a great job. I just saw that Lane Johnson's going to be out. So Halapoulivaati, Vaitai, he's got a tough task. But he stepped in last week and played pretty well. I think when you give a quarterback time and when he knows he can hang in there, he delivers the ball accurately. And time again, the receivers, they catch the ball on the run. They're not having to adjust their body and contort themselves to make an acrobatic catch. They do it in stride. That alludes to yards after the catch. He's doing great with his anticipatory throws. The touchdown throw that he threw to Nelson Aguilar, he had a safety 5 yards over the top when Carson Wentz threw the ball, and he just threw him open. So it's great throws like that make you say, wow, they're doing a great job on third down. But when you could score a touchdown on the first, I think it was the first 3 possessions of the game, that makes for a pretty an easy opportunity to run the ball.
Lastly, before I let you get out of here, Chiefs' best team in football right now, most complete team right at this moment. I mean, Alex Smith might be the early MVP favorite. I still think Rodgers is doing it the best at the position, but kind of handicap. When you look at the Chiefs, are they playing the best football right now?
I think they're the most balanced. Aaron Rodgers, I'm with you. He's, I think anybody starting a team would take AR right now. He's so special, but I worry about that offensive line. They've been banged up. He's been banged up. I don't know. I like the Kansas City run game. I think they're so much more balanced. They can hurt you in so many different ways. And I'm with you on Alex Smith. I think he should be a part of the MVP conversation. I think right now he's leading. He should be leading it with how well he's played. He's so accurate. He's making big throws, and he's getting out of trouble with his feet too. So they're a tough team right now.
20 seconds. Let you get out here on this. Who's in worse shape, Pittsburgh, or who you would be more concerned with? What's going on with Pittsburgh with the running back, more touches? The receiver finally gets his touches. He doesn't say anything. Or you look in New England and Brady's going to play. He's nicked up at that defense.
That's a tough one. Yeah, but the Patriots defense has been really surprising and shocking. For Pittsburgh, it's just drama. I think that they can eventually. Right. It's the running back holding out, the receiver throwing buckets, and then Ben throwing 5 picks and saying, "I don't know if I could play." I don't think Ben's going to throw 5 interceptions every game. I went back and looked at all those interceptions. A couple of them were things that are easy to fix. They weren't bad throws. They just, a couple. He got hit when he threw a couple of them. That's not going to happen week in and week out. I'm sure Ben will bounce back.
All right, my friend. We'll catch you tonight. NFL Network and of course NFL Playbook at 6 p.m. I appreciate it. Appreciate a couple moments.
All right. Thanks, my man. Appreciate it.
All right, you got it. Shaun O'Hara again, NFL analyst.